Let's do this. It's the Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket, 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
What's going on? Welcome to the Real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy Sports Ticket. Hopefully you have had a nice week. We are here. It is draft day. The Indianapolis Colts are fully prepared to disappoint both you and me this evening. We're going to be talking about the draft a lot today. We got Kevin Potts joining the show at 11. Zach Hicks is going to join the show tomorrow to talk about whoever the Colts wind up taking with that 14th pick. Thank you for tuning in, no matter how you're tuning in, whether that's YouTube, Indy Sports Ticket. If you want to head over there, subscribe, hop in the chat. Let me know who you want the Colts to take with that 14th pick. Maybe you're watching on Twitter, _ Jonathan Smith, if you want to follow me there. Or maybe you're listening via that Indy Sports Ticket app, which you can listen to wherever you download your apps. And if you want even more from me, you can go check out my other YouTube channel called My Take Is. Now, I want the Colts to take a tight end. Chances are you want the Colts to take a tight end. Colston Loveland, preferably Tyler Warren, either one. I will not complain. I will not complain because it will directly assess a need of the Indianapolis Colts. And more importantly, both of those guys project out to be good football players. And the Colts just don't have enough good football players. There's a lot of average ones. There's a lot of guys where it's like, yeah, like this, this guy's on the team. I don't mind him playing a little bit, but they just don't have any dudes. I just want a dude with that 14th pick, whether it's Tyler Warren or Colston Loveland or Jahad Campbell. If the Colts took Jahad Campbell with the 14th pick, I think I would be the only Colts fan over the moon about it. Over the moon. If the Colts took Jahad Campbell, a very flexible linebacker who can, who was a 5-star edge rusher coming out of high school, wasn't getting the minutes that he wanted. So he was just like, you know what? Let me play linebacker. I am athletic enough to play linebacker. If it'll get me on the field, then let's do that. And he started playing linebacker, and now he's a stud, and now he's probably going to be a first-round pick. Give me that guy, because that guy wants to be on the field and is willing to do anything to make that happen, and he's got some versatility with some pass rushing skills as well as the ability to play linebacker. So tight end or Jahad Campbell at 14. Do I think either one of those things will happen? Probably not. Trade down. That's probably what's coming our way. And the Colts will probably end up taking like an offensive tackle or something. That's what it feels like right now. We'll see whether or not that happens, though. The draft tonight, we are 10 hours away from the NFL draft. I can't wait. You probably can't wait either. This is going to be a fantastic night. Hopefully, probably not. I'm sure that Chris Ballard will find a way to upset everybody. He addressed the media earlier in the week. We've gone through all that audio. Shane Steichen and Anthony Richardson also went to the podium to talk about the upcoming season. Anthony Richardson, there was a lot of what he did in the offseason. But Shane Steichen is going to be a part of a very important decision. And that is who is going to be the starting quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts this next season. It is the single biggest choice he will make all year. It is. And, well, he's not making the choice. It's Jim Irsay, Chris Ballard, and Shane Steichen. So, in other words, Jim Irsay is making the choice while Shane Steichen and Chris Ballard advise to whatever decision he is going to make. And Shane Steichen was asked yesterday about the timeline of which they have to select the starting quarterback. Do they have a timeline in place? Do they want to pick a guy by the end of training camp or the start of the season? Kind of how long is this going to take, and what are you looking for in the starting quarterback between Anthony Richardson and Daniel Jones? Here's what Colts head coach Shane Steichen had to say.
There's not. We're going to see how it all plays out, obviously, through OTAs and the training camp. Again, I said this in the spring with a few of you guys. It's really going to come down to who's the most consistent will win the job. That's going to come down to. We'll let that process play out. At the end of the day, you got to be able to move the football consistently up and down the field and making good decisions. You know what I mean? I mean, at the end of the day, you can have splash plays, but if you're doing that, sparingly and up and down, I think it's got to be on a consistent basis, to get to where we want to go.
Shane Steichen right there talking about the upcoming quarterback battle that's going to happen through Colts OTAs and training camp between Anthony Richardson and Daniel Jones. And he talked a lot about consistency. If you are an Anthony Richardson guy or gal, that doesn't sound good. It doesn't. And the whole consistency thing is really kind of bothersome for me because obviously, like, that's important. Like, you can't have a 47% completion percentage. But the thing with Daniel, I hate this so much. This is going to suck. Anyway, Anthony Richardson, hopefully he worked this offseason on, taking a leap, because that's what he needs. He needs a big leap towards his ability to throw the football accurately. That is what he needs. Consistency was the issue last year. Sailing the ball over guys' heads, probably being a little too aggressive at times, even though I appreciate the aggressiveness. You have to be willing to push the ball down the field to be, one of the 5 or 6 best quarterbacks in the NFL. Check down Charlie is not usually a starting quarterback in the NFL, and check down Charlie is also usually not competing for Super Bowls. And Kent Sterling, friend of, the whole station, just in general, asked Anthony Richardson during his press conference a couple days ago what he worked on in the offseason, and here was your potential starting quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts' response.
Main thing, making sure my body was healthy. That was the biggest thing for me. But also like footwork stuff. Being able to just stay calm in the pocket. That was really one of the main things I wanted to focus on, because everybody knows I can throw the ball whenever I'm smooth. But I want to find like opportunities for myself to be consistent when I am off balance to make decent throws, and even when everything is perfect, making sure my feet are intact and my width, my base is solid, and I'm just completing the pass.
Anthony Richardson right there talking about everything that he worked on. And that's what he should have worked on. That's what he should have worked on. His footwork, having a strong base. He needs to work on making more throws while being off balance, because the Colts offensive line did not do a very good job of giving him time last year. So he's going to be throwing the ball on the run a lot. And it all sounds great. You can go work on stuff as much as you want to. You can put hours, a full off season, into something. That's great. And I am glad that Anthony Richardson took the time to go and work hard and to try to work on being more consistent, making those easy throws. Also, he had a quote in there where he said, "Everyone knows I can throw the ball when I'm smooth." Translation, when his feet are set and he has a clean pocket. Anthony, we don't know that. Like, that's how inconsistent you were last year. Even when you had a clean pocket and you got to step into it and make a throw, it wasn't guaranteed. And that's ultimately why you lost the job for a couple weeks there to Joe Flacco. Like, that's the issue. That's the thing that we're trying to fix. So yes, footwork, strong base, more consistent, making off-balance throws. It all sounds great. I like it. Love that. It's got to pay off, though. And we're not going to find out until the season starts. That's the reality of it. Can't wait for these videos where it's like, oh, Anthony Richardson looks smooth today. Oh, man, geez. Do you guys see the mechanics? I think he's throwing the ball even further now. Huh. Oh, man, that throw right there. Couldn't have made that throw last year. And it's just like, it's like a drag route 2 yards past the line of scrimmage. It's like, geez, like, I hope the work for him pays off. He seems like a nice guy. He's probably a little too relaxed, probably a little too nice. I wish he had a little bit more of an edge to him, but we'll see. Consistency is not the issue with Daniel Jones. He's got a couple of seasons where he's completed 67% of his passes. And I know Colts fans go over to Football Reference and they see that. And they're like, oh, man, this guy, super consistent. And he is consistent. He is so consistent. He consistently throws the ball to the check down. He consistently never takes calculated risks, which you have to take when you're a quarterback sometimes and you're trying to win a game. He consistently doesn't convert on third, and we know that you're throwing the football. Super consistent. Love the consistency from Daniel Jones. The Giants consistently ran the football in the red zone because they didn't trust Daniel Jones to throw it. Just the epitome of consistency, Daniel Jones. We love it. Not really. This entire quarterback battle is going to be the worst. It's going to be the worst. I am dreading it in every way, shape, and form. It's just going to be terrible. I mean, it's something to talk about, so I can't really complain. But man, the days that are coming where I'm going to have to talk about Daniel Jones and Anthony Richardson for, an hour, more than an hour a day, and have to weigh the pros and cons of each guy. It's just going to be absolutely brutal. And everyone is focused on the draft, and I get it. The draft's today, and it's exciting because the Colts are going to add, potentially Tyler Warren or any one of a potentially great tight end. I don't know. Everyone's great. But it's not going to matter because Daniel Jones or Anthony Richardson's going to be the starting quarterback. Geez. They're going to take Tyler Warren at 14, and people are going to be so juiced up, be like, oh, Tyler Warren. Dude's great. It's going to be like Daniel Jones drops back to pass, and then the offense just stops there. It's like, oh, never mind. We're going to suck again. Can't wait. Oh, jeez. I'm just negative today, I guess. I don't know what's going on, but I guess there's a world where the Colts draft a tight end that helps whoever the starting quarterback ends up being. And Coach Steichen was asked about year 3 of his offense. What is it going to look like? And he said something very telling in his quote. Take a listen.
Yeah, I think going into year 3 is big, obviously, in the system and with the guys that we have. We got a lot of really good players. Tony's done a heck of a job developing that offensive line. Obviously, we got some spots to fill there, too. There'll be some good competition up front. I like our receiving core, where that's at. Obviously, we're looking, to add a pass-catching tight end possibly. We'll see how that plays out. But obviously, JT's a good runner for us. So we got a nucleus of core players that are really good. And so we just need to build that chemistry. I mean, one of the goals this offseason and going into season is connection, man. You guys have heard me say when you're connected, you're committed. I think that's the culture you build. It's your daily habits going through that process to build it. So when you're going through the fire with these guys and you got to go make plays, everyone's got each other's back.
Shane Steichen right there talking about year 3 of the offense with a lot of the same pieces. I guess, man, we got a nice nucleus of good players. You have a nice nucleus of average players and Jonathan Taylor, who's pretty good. Okay. In addition to that clip, he also talked about hopefully adding a pass-catching tight end. Just threw it out there. 14th pick. We want a pass-catching tight end. Go get Colson Loveland or Tyler Warren. Go get him. They need one, clearly, for the offense. I've talked about this several times. But yes, Anthony Richardson or Daniel Jones would greatly benefit from having a tight end who can control the middle of the field. But Shane Steichen needs a tight end that can catch the football as well. Warren Sharp, who does really good stuff, wrote this article, and he talked about how the Indianapolis Colts ran a lot of pass plays out of 2 tight end looks. It'd be nice to have a legitimate pass-catching tight end if you're going to run a formation with 2 tight ends and then throw the football. It would be. It'd be really nice, to not have to rely on Kylan Granson or Mo Alley Cox or Ogletree. Ogletree, by the way, is a very good name for a tight end. Just saying. You need a legitimate pass-catching tight end if you want to run formations like that. Okay? Also, tight ends tend to do well in this Shane Steichen system. Dallas Goedert, best year of his career, came with Philly when Shane Steichen was the offensive coordinator. Hunter Henry, big year, the best year of his career, came with the Chargers under Shane Steichen. I mean, This is a draft pick or a positional pick that wouldn't only be a draft pick to hopefully help out your young quarterback or Daniel Jones, but it would help your coach out as well. Like, this seems like a clear, easy, no-brainer, if this guy's there, take him kind of pick. The issue is that it's Chris Ballard. And there's nothing easy. Nothing easy. Okay? Like, it's not going, I don't know. Like, David Carroll, great question. What are the odds that Chris Ballard does some dumb bleep tonight? And he said 100%. Hey, man, I don't know. I don't think it's quite 100%. He is slightly reformed. Okay? Say, well, Jonathan, how do you know that he is slightly reformed? He used this thing called free agency this offseason. Okay, so maybe, just maybe, our guy Chris Ballard has learned a couple things, right? Probably been tuning into the show a little bit. Hey, Chris, I hope you're doing well. I wish you the best of luck tonight. Please draft a tight end or Jahad Campbell with that 14th pick. Do not trade down and draft an offensive tackle out of North Dakota State or something like that. No. Just stay at 14. Take Colston Loveland or Tyler Warren, either one, and it'll be good. Okay? That's all that we're looking for. That's all that we're looking for. And it'll be great. It'll be great. Not as great as the NBA playoffs. We had games last night. We've got games going on tonight as well. But tonight, we get to witness the best game in any series by far. Okay? And you're probably like, Jonathan, what are you talking about? I will tell you exactly what I'm talking about and why the NBA playoffs tonight are absolute peak viewing when we come back here in about 4 minutes.
the best takes. Maybe. The Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
What's going on? Welcome back to the Real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy Sports Ticket. Hopefully you're having a nice week. Colts draft tonight. Dave Carroll. Keep the tweets coming, man. You can tweet at me at __ Jonathan Smith. You can watch the show on Twitter as well. David Carroll asking, will Ballard trade back tonight, yes or no? Oh, man. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. Let's go no. I'm going to say no. I think he's reformed. Before this offseason, if I had asked you, will Chris Ballard sign Impact free agents, you would have said no, but he did. Chris Ballard slowly figuring it out. It's only taken him 9 years, but, I don't know. What's changed? I think there's like a new radio show on from 10 to noon with the genius on it. I don't know, though. I don't know. Tonight, in NBA playoff games, I love the NBA. It's fantastic. And tonight, we start my favorite group of games. Game 3s in the NBA playoffs are outstanding. It's the best game in every series. Every single one. Without a doubt. Like, I have zero doubts about it because what happens in game 1? Game 1s are known as these like feel out games, right? Like round 1 of a boxing match. You walk out, you play the game, you're like toying with different lineups and different rotations. You're seeing how your opponent reacts to different players, right? Being on the floor. Hey, what are the Pacers going to do when we run zone? Oh, they got 3 buckets in a row. Maybe we shouldn't go back to zone. And then, you put different players can Nembhard guard Giannis a little bit? No, looks like it's got to be more Aaron Nesmith and Pascal Siakam, which is fine because Damian Lillard, he's going to come back. And when he does, we can put Nembhard on him. How does Jarris Walker and Benedict Mathurin, how do they perform in their first playoff game? So there's just a lot of different things that happen in game 1 that help you get ready for the rest of the series. And then game 2 happens. And you start making your adjustments. Like, for example, the Bucks put Kyle Kuzma on Tyrese Halliburton for different stretches in game 2. The Pacers were much more proactive in attacking Brook Lopez in pick and roll in game 2 because they saw something happen in game 1 and they felt like they could take advantage of it. And in game 1, Tyrese Halliburton, even though he didn't score a bunch, he got a lot of the shots that he wanted with Taurean Prince defending him. And so Doc Rivers said, hey, who else can we put on him? Kyle Kuzma, tall, long, probably not going to be able to stay in front of him, but maybe he can bother him with some length. And Kyle Kuzma did not do that. And then you get to game 3. And here's why game 3 is the absolute best game. Okay? Everyone knows what everyone else is running. You just know at this point. You've watched, countless games of tape. If you're the Bucks and the Pacers, you've played each other 6 times now throughout the course of the regular season and the playoffs. They're calling out plays, and you know exactly what they're running. You've watched a ton of film. You know exactly what your opponent wants to do. And game 3 is when you figure out, all right, who on the floor can really go get you a bucket? Who on the floor can really make a difference? This is where your stars really have to make their money because everyone knows what everyone else is doing. So tomorrow night, I'm going to talk about this more tomorrow because the Bucks play the Pacers in game 3 tomorrow night in Milwaukee. Pacers are up 2-0. The Bucks are coming out fast and furious. Giannis had a quote where he was like, I know what we got to do in this game, which, hearing Giannis curse is so funny because it's just did you really just say that? Your accent makes it sound like you should never, ever say that. But that's the reality of game 3s, and we've got a couple tonight where the series is tied 1-1, Pistons Knicks, game 3 tonight. Game 2 was amazing. Cade Cunningham was awesome. Scoring the basketball, rebounding. Their bench showed up in a big way. The Pistons have outplayed the Knicks in 7 of 8 quarters. Like, they had a bad fourth quarter in game 1 where the Knicks had like this 23-2 run. And outside of that, the Pistons have been better than New York. Cade Cunningham, much better in game 2 than he was in game 1. This is something that you'll see. We saw it last night as well. Game 2 between Houston and Golden State. The guys who are having their first real playoff experience tend to be better in game 2 than they were in game 1. Sorry, for Cade Cunningham, just getting to his spots. He scored 20 points in the first half, making shots, getting to the rim whenever he wanted. It's fantastic. He's got this Luka ability to play at his own pace. It's fun. I like watching him play. 33 points, 12 boards. Miles Turner, take some notes. Okay, he was the best player on the floor for the first 3 quarters in that game. Jalen Brunson, though, best player on the floor in the fourth quarter. But this is where depth's important, and this is part of why I love this Pacers team so much. They just have so much depth, and I'm watching the Knicks play that, game 2 against the Pistons. And every shot that they took down the stretch was short. Mikal Bridges, wide open, top of the key. Had a chance to tie the game. Under a minute left. And he left it short. Brunson had a decent look at a 3 to cut the lead to 1. Shot was short. They just looked tired. Jalen Brunson played 44 minutes. OG Anunoby played 42 minutes in that game too. 42. It's a lot of time to spend out there on the floor. That's a lot of time to be out there. And then you compare those heavy minutes for starters for the Knicks to what, the Pacers have been doing. Tyrese Halliburton played 35 minutes in game 2. That's it. That makes it a little easier. Late in games when you have to go and get a bucket. Pascal Siakam only played 34 minutes in game 2. By the way, Josh Hart played 40 minutes. Karl Anthony Towns was the only starter that didn't play crazy minutes. He played 33 minutes because, he sat some in the third quarter with 4 fouls, but he was also bad. He didn't need to play in game 2. If you get locked up by Tobias Harris, I have questions about who you are as a player. I just do. Karl Anthony Towns, only 10 points, only 6 rebounds. Not great. He's got to be better tonight if the Knicks want a chance to take a 2-1 lead. But he's a guy that in game 3, when, the other team knows exactly what you're running, he's a guy who can just go get you one. You can just throw him the ball on the block and he can go score. He can run that pick and pop with Jalen Brunson and he can hit a 3. Okay. But they need depth. They need Miles McBride or Campaign or someone to play well. The Knicks bench had 8 points in that game too. Mitchell Robinson played 20 minutes, didn't score a point. That can't happen, especially when the Pistons bench drops 35. Paul Reed gave them good minutes. Who needs Isaiah Stewart when you have Paul Reed? Not the Pistons. Dennis Schroeder, one of 3 guys on that Pistons roster that actually has playoff experience, hit a big go-ahead 3 with 55 seconds left. He was good all game, though. Defended Jalen Brunson. Scored the ball well. Asar Thompson, though, I thought defended Jalen Brunson the best. That dude's insane. He's just he is so incredibly quick. He beats Jalen Brunson to every single spot. It's honestly incredible, but he can't shoot the ball, so he didn't get to close the game. What's even crazier is the Pistons won game 2, and they didn't even shoot the ball well. 6 of 27 from 3. Not great. Not great. They out-rebounded the Knicks by 14. That's how you make up for it. One of the ways you can, at least. Okay, the other thing is get to the foul line, which they also did. 28 of 34 from the line. That's really impressive. Knicks, 16 of 19. Jalen Brunson, can't stand him. I think he flops and flows around way too much. It is incredibly annoying. Game 3 for that game, though, it's tonight. I still like the Knicks in 7. 3 quick questions for that game. Can Cade Cunningham be great again? Because he was amazing. I said it before the series that Cade Cunningham was going to be the best player in this series, and he has been. He has been so far. He definitely was in game 2. So can he continue to be great? They're in Detroit. That stadium is going to be absolutely rocking tonight. That's just the very simple reality of it. Because they haven't, they won their first playoff game, game 2. That was their first playoff win since 2008. That's insane. That's almost 20 years. Seriously, it's been almost 20 years since they had won a playoff game, and he's just doing his thing, man. So congrats to the Pistons. I hope they keep winning. Does Karl Anthony Towns show up tonight? Do we have to put out a missing persons report? We might have to. Also, can Tobias Harris keep it going? Because he's been really good in this series on both ends of the floor. He's got this. Look, there's games named after Tobias Harris. They're called Tobias Harris games. And it's just games where you don't notice a player that should be good is on the floor. And he'll have nights where he'll just disappear. You're just like, Tobias Harris played 28 minutes? Really? Didn't really notice him. So we'll see how it goes. But Towns, he's got to be better. You can't allow Tobias Harris to freaking guard you. That's just terrible. Absolutely terrible. Anyway, other playoff games are going on tonight, but more importantly, the NFL draft is happening tonight. Kevin Potts is going to join the show coming up here in about 30 minutes. And we're going to talk about the entire draft, who's going to sneak into the first round, who has no business being in the first round, what should the Colts do if they trade down, who's a good potential trade candidate for them, because trading down is on the board. And you say, Jonathan, how do you know that? And the answer is because Chris Ballard is the Colts GM. I don't think that they will trade down. I'm trying to be a little more positive with this, but it is undoubtedly on the board for them tonight because there's good offensive tackles who are going to go later in the first round. And you know that Chris Ballard is always looking for another offensive tackle. And I get it because, good offensive tackles don't really grow on trees. And once they get drafted, they tend to not be available again. The simple reality of it. So we'll see what they wind up doing tonight. Can't wait. I do think it's going to be Tyler Warren or Colston Loveland, in part because of what Shane Steichen said yesterday, talking about how he wants to add a pass-catching tight end. And they're not finding one in free agency. They got to find it in the draft. Simple as that. When we come back here in about 4 minutes, we'll continue to talk NBA playoffs and, of course, the NFL draft. And once again, coming up here in about 25 minutes, the one and only Kevin Potts joins the show to wrap up discussion on the NFL draft because it happens tonight. Can't wait. We'll be right back in 4 minutes.
fits in today's sports world. It's here. The real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
What's going on? Welcome back to the real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy Sports Ticket. Hopefully you're having a nice week. The NFL draft is tonight. Kevin Potts joins the show here in about 20 minutes to talk about the draft, talk about the Colts. Could they trade down? Could they potentially trade up? Probably not. It's Chris Ballard. It's probably not going to happen. Thank you for tuning in, no matter how you're tuning in, whether that's YouTube, Indy Sports Ticket, if you want to head over there and subscribe. Maybe you're watching on Twitter, __ Jonathan Smith, if you want to watch and follow me there. Or maybe you're listening via that Indy Sports Ticket app, which you can download wherever you find your apps. And if you want even more from me, you can go check out the My Take Is YouTube page. Simple as that. And I got a sweet deal for you. As always, I got nothing but sweet deals. Hopefully, our boy Chris Ballard can make a sweet deal tonight, trade up, grab an awesome tight end named like Tyler Warren or something. I don't know. But if not, if you need some consoling, if you need to feel better, I got to be honest, I will eat my feelings sometimes. It just kind of happens. And it's even better when it's with barbecue. More specifically, Garrett's Smokehouse Barbecue. Best barbecue in Indy. It's fantastic. And right now, we've got a sweet deal for you at Garrett's Smokehouse Barbecue. You can get $50 in gift certificates for only $25 at IndySportsTicket.com. That place is lovely. No other way to put it. It is muy delicioso, as some people would say, and you should definitely head over there and check it out. In addition to the NFL draft tonight, full disclosure, I am not watching the NFL draft. If you watch the NFL draft, I do not understand you in any way, shape, or form. Sorry, I just don't. I don't get it. I don't find it entertaining. I'm going to get an Adam Schefter notification at some point on Twitter, and it's going to be like, hey, the Colts took this player. I'm going to be like, that's fantastic. And that'll be that. And I will turn my attention right back to the NBA playoff game. Simple as that. Okay. Now, it's a really good night for games. Pistons-Knicks is going to be awesome. Clippers-Nuggets is going to be even better. Like I said, I love game threes. Even better when both series are tied at a game apiece, like Pistons-Knicks is and Clippers versus Nuggets is. And Clippers-Nuggets game 2 happened, and it was a magnificent game. No other way to put it. And I said after game 1 that the one and only Kawhi Leonard needs to have the ball a little bit more often than what he has. And he was awesome in that game. 39 points, 21 points at half on 9 of 10 shooting. Finished the game with 39 total on like 15 of 19 shooting. I mean, he just came out super aggressive, which is not normal for Kawhi. Usually he kind of lets the game come to him, lets James Harden kind of do his thing, and then he gets busy. And when you watch him play, the NBA draft, like we're going to obviously talk about that as well. Who are the Pacers going to take? Who's going to go number 1? Cooper Flag, all that kind of stuff. And you're going to hear people talk about speed and quickness and explosiveness and how quickly guys get off the ground and all sorts of stuff. You won't hear people talk about strength as much as they should. It is the most underrated attribute in a player. And the reason why Kawhi Leonard is so awesome is because he's jacked. He just moves people around on both ends of the floor. He's amazing. It was an elite performance from him. He was the guy for the Clippers. Norman Powell and James Harden had their moments, but Kawhi, he was the guy from the jump. And it wasn't like that in game 1. Game 1, it was a lot of James Harden and Zubac and screen and roll with those guys, and it was fine. But the best adjustment that I've seen any team make in the playoffs is the Clippers being like, you know what? Let's make sure our best player has the ball just a little bit more than what he did in game 1. We should probably not let James Harden take 20 shots while Kawhi only takes like 13. Okay, so they flipped that in game 2. It's a large part of why they won. Another part of it is Nikola Jokic wasn't good enough, which is a really weird thing to say. He made more mistakes than he normally does. You can probably look at the 26 points, 12 rebounds, and 10 assists and be like, yeah, what a great player. But then you're like, oh, wow, he turned the ball over 7 times. That's not normal. And it's not. He had a bad one late. throwing it to literally just right to Kawhi Leonard. Missed free throws. Normally didn't do that. He was 6 of 10 from the foul line. He seemed really frustrated, like Luka level, frustrated. Okay, yelling at his teammates, yelling at the refs. He's a competitor and he's tough, but he's usually a little more composed than what he was during game 2. Jamal Murray continues to be good. Playoff Jamal, that's his thing. His plus minus was actually better than Jokic's, and there's a running correlation between this Nuggets-Clippers series and the Pacers and Bucks series, and that is in the Pacers-Bucks series, the Bucks have to win the minutes that Giannis is on the floor. If they don't, then they stand no chance at winning a game. For the Nuggets, it's the exact same thing. They have to win the minutes that Nikola Jokic is on the floor. They didn't in game 2, which is a very rare thing. Okay, just like the Bucks, it is rare when they don't win the Giannis minutes because he is the best player on the floor in just about every game he plays, just like how Nikola Jokic is the best player on the floor in just about every game that he plays, and he wasn't in game 2. It was Kawhi Leonard. Simple as that. The Nuggets also turned the ball over way too much. They turned it over 20 times. Hard to win when you do that, even when you out-rebound your opponent by 18. By the way, Michael Porter Jr., what a game. What a game. Wasn't good in game 1, didn't get to close. Game 2, he's like, you know what? Let me rebound. And he did. 15 points and 15 rebounds. That's a great game from Michael Porter Jr. Sadly, he got hurt late, and he didn't get to finish the game. But, Aaron Gordon struggled a little bit, missed a dunk late, didn't defend Kawhi Leonard very well. Not fair for me to say that because Kawhi was, just on another level. But I thought Peyton Watson did the best job of anyone defending Kawhi Leonard. Wouldn't be surprised if we saw more Peyton Watson minutes where he defends Kawhi, especially if Aaron Gordon continues to struggle. This is a great series. This has been the best series so far because Warriors-Rockets game 2 was a disappointment as soon as Jimmy Butler went down and got hurt and didn't come back in that game. So this series is delivering on every level. It's probably going to go 7. I still like the Nuggets in 7 games. They have the best player, and they'll be at home for game 7. So I still like the Nuggets. Don't feel great about it because the Clippers are awesome. But game 3 tonight, it's a big one. And the biggest thing for the Clippers is who's the guy who's going to match Jokic. And, game 2, it was Kawhi. Game 1, they didn't have anyone to do it, and they lost a really tight game late. So James Harden or Kawhi Leonard or Norman Powell have to get going in like a big way because you know that Jokic is going to have a triple-double and just manufacture offense at a level that no one else really can on a consistent basis. So the Clippers need someone else, Kawhi, Harden, Powell, whoever, to kind of match whatever Jokic does tonight for the Nuggets. The other thing, this game's on the road. And if you're unfamiliar with the Clippers, they just built a brand new stadium. I mean, state-of-the-art, brand new. And they've got this thing called the Wall, and it's just like, it's uninterrupted. It goes like all the way up to like the roof, and it is awesome. I am so excited to see what the environment in there appears to be tonight. Okay? Can't wait. It's going to be fantastic. Just like the Indianapolis Colts when they draft Tyler Warren. I hope it happens. I very rarely talk about my hopes for what teams do on this show. But, man, like I want Tyler Warren. He just looks like a football player. Like you look at some of the guys on the Colts roster, like you look at Michael Pittman Jr., you're like, man, like that guy's kind of skinny. He's tough. Don't get me wrong. This is not a Michael Pittman Jr. slander time. This is just, he looks kind of frail. He does. Josh Downs looks really small. Who else looks small on this Colts team? You look at Anthony Richardson, he doesn't really look like a quarterback, which that's in like the best way possible. That dude's absolutely jacked. Daniel Jones looks like he should work cybersecurity for some company. Like the Colts just have a lot of guys who don't really look like football players. They just don't. And Tyler Warren is the complete and total opposite of that. And he's a guy who I think sets a real tone because of how he plays and the way that he boxes dudes out and just the way that he does all these amazing things. It's awesome. It is. Everything that Tyler Warren can do on the field. Like, just go back. Actually, don't do this because you will only be disappointed if the Colts don't take Tyler Warren. But if they do, go to YouTube and just search Tyler Warren highlights and watch him just be an absolute man on the field. Just watch him be like, oh, this 22-year-old dude's going to try to guard me? Yeah, not an option. I'm 6'6", 200, and a lot of pounds. Good luck. And he just finds a way, man. And like you need players, more specifically the Colts need players who really help set a tone. That's really what they need more than anything else. Because, Anthony Richardson is a really relaxed guy. Daniel Jones, really relaxed guy. Michael Pittman Jr., like, owns a farm, just kind of does his own thing. Jonathan Taylor's all about vibes. Josh Downs, really relaxed. Like when I look at this Colts offense, there is no one with any sort of edge. None whatsoever. Quentin Nelson has one. Braden Smith, not really. Bernard Raymond seems like a nice dude from Australia. Don't know enough about Tanner Bortolini, but they need a skill player that has a legitimate edge, because as awesome as Quentin Nelson is, your offensive guard's not leading the huddle. It's not going to happen. And Tyler Warren, with like the war eye paint stuff, he just has an edge to him. He's a big, physical football player. That's what he is. There is no finesse in that dude's game. No finesse whatsoever. There is no I can dunk a basketball about his game, like there is with Anthony Richardson and Michael Porter Jr. and Josh Downs and Alec Pierce. Okay, he is not pretty. His jersey is like torn and there's paint all over it because he's on the ground. He's going up over dudes and he's making tough catches and he's just throwing guys out of the way whenever he blocks. Like, he brings a legitimate edge and tone to every snap, to every single one. And that, that is something extra that, like, you have to have. Chris Ballard talked earlier in the week about why guys bust. Like, and he, laid out these three things. Usually one of the three things happen. One's like character, the athleticism, and injuries. Like, those kind of tend to be the three reasons why someone busts. And, man, like, when you watch Tyler Warren play football, it's like this dude has great football character. And I've talked about this a little bit with guys, like, getting into the building early and working hard. But there's also something to be said about the demeanor that you play with and the physicality that you play with. And when I look at the Colts and I look at this team that Chris Ballard has built, it doesn't really make any sense. Because Chris Ballard preaches the trenches. Oh, we want big dudes who can push other big dudes around, and we want big dudes on defense who can get to the quarterback and do all these really important and impressive things. It's great. I completely agree with that. But usually teams that are built through their offensive line feel meaner, feel more aggressive, feel tougher than what Chris Ballard has built here in Indianapolis. Like, the Philadelphia Eagles, they are all about the trenches, okay? Like, they draft a lot of offensive linemen. They draft a ton of defensive linemen. And when you watch the Eagles, they are tough, and they have an edge to them, okay? Like you can have a chill quarterback and still win football games. Like, that's fine. That's what Jalen Hurts is in Philly. But, like, Lane Johnson, that guy has an edge. A.J. Brown has an edge to him. Dallas Goedert has a bit of an edge. Saquon Barkley clearly has an edge to the way that he plays football. Like, you have to have guys like that. And for the Colts offense, it's Quentin Nelson, and that's really it. Doesn't seem like anyone else has much of an edge when it comes to playing this great physical and violent game that is football. Colts defense, Zaire Franklin seems like a fake tough guy. Maybe, no. I almost said something blasphemous, and I'm not going to do that. Okay? Colts defense doesn't have much of an edge either. That's why part of me really likes Jahad Campbell. That dude is just a very violent football player who just crashes into things as fast as he can. Not there's like Kwity Paye. Come on, man. Come on. That dude doesn't have an edge. Leatu Latu, love the dude. A little too happy for me. Wish he had a little bit more of an edge and a physicality to when he played football. You look at the Lions, and they're like flying around defensively, and they're crashing into dudes, and like Penei Sewell has an edge, and Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, like they are running hard, and it's awesome. And they are not about vibes like Jonathan Taylor is. They're about, give me the football, I'm going to run through someone's face and then run for 20 more yards. And this is another team that is built along the trenches. And they feel tough and physical. And the Colts, a team that is led by a general manager who preaches about the trenches, doesn't feel the same way as all these other teams that are built through the trenches are. And that is a major problem. It just is. They've got to find dudes that have a little bit more edge. I think Tyler Warren has that. It's a large part of why I like him. Same goes for Colston Loveland. You got to find, same goes for Jahad Campbell. You got to find dudes that have a little something extra to him than what the Colts guys currently have on their roster. When we come back here in about 5 minutes, Kevin Potts is going to join the show. He does an excellent job covering the NFL draft. If you have questions about a player, check out his Substack. He does an excellent job talking about all these dudes. Kevin Potts of the Kevin Potts NFL and NFL Draft Breakdown Substack joins the show when we come back here in about 4.5 minutes.
Let's do this. It's the Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket, 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
What's going on? Welcome to the Real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy Sports Ticket. Thanks for tuning in, no matter how you're tuning in, whether that's YouTube, Indy's Sports Ticket. Maybe you're watching on Twitter, __ Jonathan Smith. Maybe you're listening via the Indy Sports Ticket app. No matter how you're tuning in, it is greatly appreciated. If you want more from me, you can go check out the My Take Is YouTube channel. Joined now by Kevin Potts of the Kevin Potts NFL and NFL Draft Breakdowns Substack. This is the guy for all things NFL Draft. He writes a million different player profiles for every draft. They're all very good. So if you have questions about a player, go check out his Substack. Kevin, what's going on, man? How are you?
I'm good. It feels like Christmas morning, like I'm a little kid for a draft analyst. I'm very excited for tonight, and I think we're going to be in for a wild one.
We were talking off the air. Has there ever been a draft where we've known less? I'm sure there has been. There just hasn't been one in quite some time. Which team are you most intrigued to see what they do tonight?
For me, it starts at number 5 with Jacksonville, because for the life of me, I have no idea what they're going to do at that pick. You have a new regime coming in, don't really know what they look for. And I think it's the biggest pivot point in this draft. And it makes most mock drafts look like a choose your own adventure book, because if Mason Graham goes there at 5, it changes every pick after. If it's Genty, it changes everything after. If they trade out, it changes things. If it's Ted McMillan, it changes everything. So I think all this entire draft really hinges on that 5th overall pick and has a really big cascading effect after that.
What would you do?
I would go Mason Graham. That is who I've had locked with them for a long time. I think he is a top 5 player in this class. I think it is a need for them at defensive line. The rumors have been it's looking like offense. Genty's been the heavy one. I'm not fully bought into all the smoke that it's specifically him. It does seem like it's some sort of offensive playmaker, which I get because you want to help Trevor Lawrence, and this is an offensive staff coming in. But for me, just the value on Graham, it'd be impossible for me to pass up on him.
Colts fans obviously want Tyler Warren. We're begging Ballard to trade up or for Tyler Warren to fall, which I don't think is going to happen. Either one of those things, really. With the Jags let go of Evan Ingram in the offseason. Are they a candidate to maybe take Warren or Loveland at some point in the first round?
Yeah, I think that's actually a great point. I think both of those guys would fall under the offensive skill position player bucket that they're probably looking at. I think Warren's probably the most likely because he's bigger and probably a better inline blocker long term, and it fits more of what that offense wants to do as a 3 wide receiver set offense. Also, if they trade down, if they convince the Bears to come up to 5 for Mendy, they move down to 10, and I really think one of those would be on the board for them.
Okay, that makes sense. Joined by Kevin Potts of the Kevin Potts NFL and NFL Draft Breakdown Substack, previewing the NFL Draft tonight. No one has made a trade yet in the first round. Everyone still has their first round pick. Who do you think is most likely to move their draft position tonight?
The one I always look at is the Vikings at pick 24. This is a team that only has 4 picks in this draft. They have no second rounder. And I think if a team is looking to trade up for presumably a quarterback in the back half of the first round, whether it's Cleveland, New Orleans, New York, whoever it may be, I think the Vikings only having 4 picks in a class where most people agree the difference between pick 20 and pick 45 is not really that big, is probably the team that would move out, still take a player they like in the second round, and pick up an additional pick for that.
Would anyone this draft is just so weird because there's no good quarterbacks where there's one, but it's weird because I'm thinking about the Colts at 14. If Jackson Dart or Milroe or Shedeur Sanders falls, would someone potentially want to trade up to 14 with the Colts? Because we know Chris Ballard loves to trade back.
I don't think so. I really just don't think the league and these teams like these quarterbacks a ton. And really in the past couple of weeks, we've seen the big fall from Sanders in mock drafts. Even Dart and Milroe getting some hype, still fall in the end of the first round, early second for most of the plugged in guys. So I don't really think a team's come up to 14 for a quarterback. The one team maybe I could see trading up if the Colts did want to trade back would be the Texans at 25. because they badly need a tackle. It's been pretty well reported that they're going to be aggressive to get an offensive tackle that they like. And if the rumors are true and these tackles start going off the board early, like we expect, if there's one guy left on the board at 14, they want to move up 11 spots, that would be the team that could be aggressive to move up, not necessarily a quarterback team.
Okay. Joined by Kevin Potts, writer of the Kevin Potts NFL and NFL Draft Breakdown Substack, talking about the thing that he's been working so hard towards for like the past several months, the NFL Draft tonight. We're like 9 hours away from the start of round one. So I was talking earlier about the two guys that, like, if I could pick who the Colts take, it would be Tyler Warren or Jihad Campbell. And I think part of why I like them so much is, like, you could just, like, they feel like football players, if that makes sense. Like, Michael Pittman Jr., like, he doesn't really look like a football player. Zaire Franklin talks a lot. I think it's kind of fake, though. Whereas, like, when I watch Jihad Campbell and Tyler Warren play, it just feels like they have, like, a little extra edge to them. Do you agree with that? And who are some of the other guys in this draft class? They don't necessarily have to go in round one, who kind of fit that bill of, it just feels like they're just a little extra there.
Yeah, I mean, I think you got it exactly right. And it's the reason so many people like Warren and Campbell, even though they play two technically devalued positions in tight end and linebacker. Everyone loves these guys because the skill set's obviously there, but the mentality and the effort and the physical toughness are off the charts, and is why a lot of people like them. Some other guys that I like, I know you're a big fan of Shedeur Sanders. He's not the perfect prospect. I do love his mental and physical toughness. I think that's really impressive. I think Cam Scadaboo, everyone's favorite from the college football playoffs, even if he is not a great tester, is just a fantastic football player. A lot of these running backs are. I'd say Kyle Monangai out of Rutgers and Damian Martinez out of Miami are two other running backs that I absolutely love, that even if the testing numbers aren't great, even if they aren't the fastest guys in the world, I want them on my team because they're going to get those tough yards. They're not going to shy away from contact, and they're going to do the little things right in pass protection.
Let's go. I love that. I just don't feel like the Colts have quite enough edge. You know, like, this bothered me. I might rant here a little bit, Kevin, so I'm sorry. But I don't know if you saw this or not. They asked Anthony Richardson 2 days ago at his press conference if it bothered him that it was his third year in the league and he wasn't the definite starter. And his response was, nah, man, I'm blessed. I was like, that just bothers me because, like, I want dudes who are, like, physical and are, like, super competitive and have the guts to be like, you know what? I'm better than Daniel Jones or fill in the blank with whoever they're competing against. And I just, like, I think the Colts need a little bit more of whatever that is. Like, I think Quentin Nelson has a lot of edge to him, but that's, like, really it. So I really hope that the Colts kind of look at that kind of stuff tonight. I am curious, who is someone that is not a quarterback that's going to go in the first round tonight that you disagree with?
This is a player I have mocked in the first round, but I don't have a first round grade on him. And it looks like he's trending top 10, and that's Kelvin Banks Jr., the tackle out of Texas. He has been a dude that has been one of the top two tackles going all the way back to summer. He checks all the boxes on paper of 5-star recruit, played for a big SEC program, and did really well. I think he is probably best as a guard. I think he is a second-round player. I think he's going to be a solid offensive lineman, but I don't think he's an exceptional athlete. I don't think he's crazy strong. I don't think he has exceptional length. And I was kind of on board with him being in the late 20s to maybe a team like Houston, even if I thought that was a reach. But now there's rumors that he's going to get in the top 10 with the Saints, the Jets, and the Raiders. And I think he's a significant tier down from the Will Campbells and the Armand Membous of the world, going in the top 10 for a player who I have as my tackle 5, and I think my 40th overall player.
Jeez. Tackle 5 going in the top 10. That's okay. Yeah, I don't think I'd be a very big fan of that either. Joined by Kevin Potts, writer of the Kevin Potts NFL and NFL Draft Breakdown Substack. Who's the guy that you believe in more than everyone else? Doesn't have to be a first round pick tonight, but just someone where you're like, man, like, I don't know why people don't like this guy more.
It's going to be a first round pick, and I'm going to talk about Will Johnson because now he just seems to not be going in first-round mocks at all, which is, in my opinion, crazy. He is a top 5 player for me. He's my 5th overall player. He's my number 1 corner, even over Travis Hunter. I think he's fantastic. He's been good ever since he was a true freshman. He has size. I think he is a very fluid athlete. His play speed's excellent. But for him, why people are kind of knocking him, he didn't really run a 40. So everyone has questions about his track speed, which I could go on a rant on why I think that is generally stupid. If his play speed's good.
Why is that dumb?
Because we don't play on a track. We don't play the sport in their underwear on a turf field. It is nice to have a guy go out there and run a good 40 times so you can check the box. That's awesome. In the event that they don't run it, whether they don't feel like it, if they're not getting ran by guys who are running 4.3s and 4.4s on the field, then it doesn't matter. I've seen him chase down Wingo from Texas, who is a low 4.4s guy by all reports of testing. So I don't have worries about him on the field. And I think he hasn't done a lot of this testing. Whether or not that's the right move or not, we will see. But I see too many people in the media going, oh, he ran the 40. He must be slow. He must be bad. I think the true freshman corner that started for Michigan for 3 years, helped to win a national title, repeatedly took away number 1 wide receivers and turned the ball over, is probably a good player, even if he didn't run the 40 that you wanted to see him run. And now he's I think it was Daniel Jeremiah's mock. He got out of the first round. And this is a player, if I was at 6 with the Raiders, I would take him in a heartbeat. And I don't even know if he's going to go in the first round at this point.
That's crazy. But is he a guy, though, where if he falls out of the first round, do we all of a sudden see a ton of movement at the top of the second round where teams are trying to trade up and grab him?
I would assume so, but I also would assume he wouldn't get that far. So it creates kind of a dichotomy there. He's the player. It would not shock me if he ends up being the Eagles pick this year. I've talked about it with Malachi Starks before, who's a player I view very similar to Will Johnson. Dude drops, and then all of a sudden he's there at 32, and the Eagles run up the card. And now you have Cooper DeJean, Quinyon Mitchell, and Will Johnson as your 3 corners on rookie contracts. And everyone's going to be like, how did Howie do it again? And it's because the league overthought a very good player again.
That's totally, yeah. Kevin Potts, writer of the Kevin Potts NFL and NFL Draft Breakdown Substack, giving you great stuff on Will Johnson right there. If he ends up with the Eagles, you're right. That's probably what's going to happen. A great player, for a dumb reason, is again going to fall into the Eagles' lap, and everyone that picked in front of them is going to be like super upset about it. Like, why didn't we just take the guy that was good at football? I mean, just
every year.
What a concept. Let's take guys that are good at football and let's see what happens. I hope not. Honestly, if the Colts took him at 14, I would be all for it. But they have so many needs. I am curious your thoughts on this. I've been reading just a lot of stuff trying to get ready for the draft. I've read that this is a very deep edge rusher draft to a point where like you can grab a good one in the second round. Who are some of those guys? Because the Colts do need probably an extra edge rusher with Daiwa Dangbo leaving in the offseason.
Yeah, it is a very good edge class. I have 18 in my top 100, I believe.
Oh, wow.
So there's a bunch of good options. And a lot of these guys, I think the tricky part with this edge class is outside of Jewel Carter, there's basically no dude that doesn't have an issue. Even a bunch of these guys are going to go in the first round. But there are a bunch of different body types. So depending on kind of what you are looking for, I think you can find some guys. Day 2 guys that I like, I was assuming the Colts would probably be looking for a guy with a little more beef, a little more power to go opposite of what Latu does. Is more of a finesse pass rusher. I really like Femi Oladejo out of UCLA. He's a converted linebacker to edge just recently this year, but he hits like a linebacker. He doesn't shy away from contact. He's a fantastic run defender. He's a little bit raw at this point in time, so the pass rush ability is not quite there. But as far as a big end that can set the edge, I really like him. A couple guys that are a little bit more polished. JT Tuimoloau, I think, is a late second rounder. People who've watched college football, similar to Oladejo, where he is not the greatest athlete, but he's big and long and strong. I just think he's a little bit more refined. He would probably cost your second round pick to do so, but he comes in and starts 16 games right away if you need him to, and does not mess up, even if he's never going to be an 8-9 sack guy.
There was a guy I was really hoping that you were going to mention, so now I'll just ask about him. What about Landon Jackson out of Arkansas? Big dude, strong, really good run defender, not the best pass rusher, though. What are kind of your thoughts on him?
I like Landon Jackson. He is an mid to early second rounder on my board. He's my 9th overall edge, which gives some credence to how strong this class is. He is a very weird eval because he has a very strange body type. He's very tall. You mentioned he's a good run defender. He's very strong and explosive, but he doesn't have that twitch and the bend that you typically look for. I thought he had a really nice process in the combine, and it kind of made me warm up to him a little bit because I don't typically like this type of edge rusher. I think he has to land with a specific team in a 4-3 team because some of the lack of the bend and the flexibility makes it difficult for him to slide up and down and be versatile. But I think if you are an even front team that is looking for a big end, which I think Indy would qualify as well, he would be able to come in and, again, probably not an 8-9 sack guy, but get you 6-7 sacks and a really good strong side edge. And I think, again, similar to Illinois, would be a pretty solid second rounder.
Okay, I like it. I on the topic of edge rusher, I learned this the other day, and it just made me love Jahad Campbell all the more. He was like a 5-star edge rusher coming out of college or coming out of high school, but then, he goes to Alabama where they always have a million of those guys. And so he's basically like, can I play linebacker so I can actually play? How versatile do you think he can be on an NFL team?
I think he's extremely versatile. Early on in this process, before everyone kind of settled on him as linebacker 1, there was legitimate questions between both him and Jalen Walker on both of them moving to edge. And it ended up being where Walker is definitely the edge and Campbell is an off-ball guy because I don't think he has the requisite bend and explosiveness to be a full-time edge rusher. But if you were running a 3-4 team where you need your linebackers to play in the line a little bit more, he absolutely could do it. I think where he is going to make his most money as a pass rusher is as a blitzer. And a guy who's commonly comped for him is Fred Warner, which is a lofty comp. Warner is also an excellent blitzer. And I think Campbell's intrigue and why everyone loves him as a first rounder at a position people usually don't value is his blitzing ability and his coveraging ability, making him such a versatile third down weapon in a league that is obviously very, very pass first.
Joined by Kevin Potts, writer of the Kevin Potts NFL and NFL Draft Breakdown Substack. If you have a question about literally any player that might get drafted, go and check out his Substack, because I promise you, he's got a player profile written up on them. So, we talked about how, this is a very deep edge class. I think this is a very deep tight end class. Is there a position group that you think is a little overrated in terms of, it's just not as deep as what everyone presumes it to be?
Yeah, I don't know if I think people have kind of come back to this position not being that great, but it would be linebacker for me. I think early on in the process, people got pretty excited about it with Campbell. We talked about Carson Schweschinger last time I was on here. There's a couple other nice mid-round guys like Demetrius Knight out of South Carolina and Pooh Paul out of Ole Miss, and people really like some of these guys. People talk about multiple guys going in the second round, but I think as we've gotten over time, people begin to realize is after the top 2 guys in Campbell and Schweschinger, everyone has a different linebacker 3, and it created this illusion that there's 5 or 6 guys that are top 100 picks, when in reality, 6 different people have a different guy in the top 100. And I think that for me, I don't really like anyone after the top 2 guys. I think there's a pretty steep drop off, and I think we'll see that with teams too. Some guys might go higher than we expect because teams really like individual guys for their roles. But overall, as a class with linebacker, if you're not getting Campbell in round 1 or Schweschinger in round 2 or round 1, I think it's gonna be tough to get a linebacker that have confidence in playing in year 1.
What about Jalen Walker though, out of Georgia?
I have him as an edge. I didn't grade him out as a linebacker. I don't really love the player. He's I believe in the 20s for me as an edge. He did a lot of stuff as an off-ball linebacker. He's a freak athlete. Intangibles are out of this world. Everyone seems to love him. I just didn't think he had a lot of instincts as a linebacker. I thought he was at his best when he was told to run and chase something. Typically, that was as a spy or as a blitzer. And then his best reps, I thought, came as the edge, where that bend and the explosiveness to get around the corner was fantastic. I think there will be some that will try him at linebacker. If you end up in Atlanta, if you end up in Minnesota or Arizona, where they have this more of a amorphous defense that moves guys around, I think you'll see a lot more off-ball stuff for him. But in terms of tossing it in one of the two buckets, I think he's an edge.
Okay, makes sense. Joined by Kevin Potts, writer of the Kevin Potts NFL and NFL Draft Breakdowns Substack. I don't know how to word this question, so I'm just going to tell you this feeling that I have. So, like, for the Colts, they have multiple options with that first-round pick. You know, like, if they went tight end, like, I'd be happy. If they went linebacker, I'd be cool with it. If they went, you know, like, if Will Johnson fell and they went corner, I'd be cool with it. But if the Falcons don't take an edge rusher, I think I'm going to be really upset, because they've needed one for like the last 5 years. I mean, part of why they blew that lead in the Super Bowls, because like they didn't have a pass rush. Is there another team drafting where it's like, you have ignored this need for so long, it's about time that you finally address it?
Oh, that's a good question. I hate to keep talking about the Eagles. I would like to see them draft a linebacker, because they absolutely never do it. And as a 49ers fan, I don't actually want to see them do this, because I think it would make them really, really good. But I do think that even though you have Zach Bond and you've done well at that position, if they could get a guy, if Campbell drops it all because of the shoulder, or if they take Schweschinger and actually invest in a high value pick at linebacker, that would just make that defense just so special to a ridiculous degree. The other one would be Dallas taking a running back. It might not be at 12, but watching that offense last year, just being unable to run the football, did bring me some pleasure. But as a football fan, just they have to get a real back in there somewhere, and this is absolutely the class to do it.
Okay. I feel like I've just got a lot of issues with this draft. I don't know why the Browns are going to take Travis Hunter at 2. I don't think he really helps them that much. Is there, like, I don't know, like, what are your thoughts on them probably taking Travis Hunter second?
He's the best player in the class, and drafts good players over needs is probably the spark notes of it. I think a lot of teams get really caught up in filling these needs, especially the coaching staff. But the reality is, and especially with some of these teams picking at the top, the odds of GM and coaching staff actually being there in 2 years are lower than them being there. So take the best player, have the best possible roster if you do have to reset, and you'll figure it out later. Contracts are 4 to 5 years in this league, if not shorter. You're going to have a bunch of turnover. And in a class that has basically 2 or 3 guys, and then when we've talked about it at length, from pick 7 to 45 are all about the same. I think if you can get one of the quote-unquote surefire, because there's really no thing, players at the top of the draft, you do it, you don't look back, and you figure it out in the second, third round, those needs that you have to fill.
I got a comment on our YouTube stream from this guy named John Buzzer, who said trying to understand the Browns is impossible, which is totally fair.
That's probably a better answer. It's way shorter than mine.
Yeah. Giants at 3. What would you do? I would take Shedeur, just because I think you just draft quarterbacks until you find one. But what would you do? Because, you know, the Abdul Carter out of Penn State looks like he's just going to be a total stud.
Yeah, I think it's pretty similar to my Browns argument. Actually probably even more, because I think the staff's probably fired up this year regardless. Just take a good player. There's 2 blue chips in this class. It's Carter and Hunter. You're sitting there at 3. Take the player. I've talked about before, I don't really like this quarterback class. After Cam Ward, I wouldn't take any of them in the top 10. Take a blue chip prospect and then figure it out again in round 2 and try and get a quarterback in there, because the odds are is Brian Daboll's not here next year. And if you're stuck with a quarterback a new GM and new coach doesn't like, they're probably not going to play. And you'd be looking back and be like, I just wish we had Abdul Carter right now.
Yeah, that's totally fair. I mean, they passed on Micah Parsons, and they probably hate themselves for doing that. I'm trying to think. What else are you kind of looking forward to tonight for the draft? Like, I know Ryan Pohl said yesterday that they're potentially going to trade down or up, and the Broncos were looking to move around too. Like, what are some of the things about the draft that people aren't talking about as much that you're just very interested to see what happens?
Yeah, I think the trades is a big one. There's been a lot of smoke around a Jacksonville, Chicago trade from 5 to 10. There's been a lot of rumors that the Panthers would like to trade out of 8. I could very well see the 49ers moving up from 11 to 8, especially if Mason Graham drops, try and go get a player of that caliber. I think the Broncos have been a lot in the rumors trying to trade up. And then, of course, the quarterbacks trading up in the back half of the first round. And the other storyline for me is there's a handful of players with really wide ranges due to off-field issues or injury concerns. I talked about Will Johnson already. Derek Carman, the interior defensive lineman out of Oregon, would fall in that bucket. Mike Green, the edge rusher out of Marshall, and Walter Nolan, the interior defensive lineman out of Ole Miss, are all guys I have seen in top 10, top 15 picks. And Daniel Jeremiah, who's one in the most plugged-in people in this industry, had 3 of the 4 of them not even in his first round. So that's a 25 range for some of the best players in this class due to things that are not football related. And it makes me very curious to see, are all teams out on them, or is this just a case where a majority of teams are, and it only takes one team to end that slide and get a very good player?
Everyone but the Eagles are out on them. That's usually how that works.
They get all 4. They get all 4 of them.
They do. Joined by Kevin Potts, writer of the Kevin Potts NFL and NFL Draft Breakdown Substack. Last topic for you. I won't say question because it's never one more question. What would a successful draft for the Colts look like?
I think if you were leaving with one of the top 2 linebackers, a tight end in the first 4 rounds, a guard, and an edge rusher with like the first 4 player specifics, we don't have to talk about those. Getting those 4 positions, I think fans should come away pretty happy because I think those are good positions to draft in this class, and the team obviously very well needs them.
Who are some of the tight ends? Like, I obviously everyone here is very familiar with Colston Loveland and Tyler Warren. I've talked a lot about Mason Taylor because I believe in the idea of drafting guys whose parents played a professional sport. I think those guys adapt a little quicker. Mason Taylor, also a really good player. So after those 3 tight ends, I think people are pretty familiar with Harold Fannin Jr. as well. I know you and I have talked about him a little bit. Who are some of the other guys that are intriguing that the Colts could maybe grab in rounds 2, 3, or 4?
Yeah, so the other round 2 guy, in addition to Taylor, who I really like and who I mocked the Colts in my final mock, the other one would be Elijah Arroyo, the tight end out of Miami. I think he's probably a little bit more of a receiving first guy. He's a really good athlete, but there's enough in his frame that I do think he will be a decent inline blocker at some point. He'd be more of a Colston Loveland light type of player in the second round. As you get further down, Terrence Ferguson out of Oregon, I don't think he does anything specifically super well, but he's a well-rounded player, and I think he could be a low-end starter for a team pretty quickly because of his experience. The player that I'm really intrigued to see what his growth is Aronde Gadsden II out of Syracuse. He is a former wide receiver that transitioned to tight end at Syracuse, set all kinds of records for them last year. And I typically don't like the receiving first tight ends that can't block, but there's something to him in his frame and his flexibility when he's working as a blocker. Even though he loses right now, you can see there's functional strength and there's flexibility to win as a blocker. He just needs to keep getting stronger because he's new to the position. I think his frame has the room to add the weight and the strength. So you already know he is a capable receiver. If he can grow into the blocker his frame says is a possibility, getting him in the 4th or 3rd round, I think it'd be a long-term starter at tight end, but it would take a year or 2, in my opinion.
Okay. Last question for real here. Are you going to sit down and actually watch the draft tonight, or are you just going to let the notifications ping on your phone?
I sit down and watch it. I did it last year. I turn the phone over, and then I don't look at my phone or my laptop like Twitter until it goes to a commercial break. And I refresh it really quickly so I don't see anything new, and I'll scroll back and see people's thoughts. I try to stick only to my following page, not for you, for any leaks and rumors. It's not perfect. I do get the occasional thing leaked to me, but I do really try and enjoy the atmosphere and the fun of the first round and seeing that ticker flip up and have a name that we don't expect. I think that's more fun. And I do this for trying to work in it, but it's also fun at the end of the day. So I try my best not to get things spoiled on a Twitter feed.
That's totally fair. Kevin, thank you so much for your time, man. I hope your mock draft is 100% accurate, because I know you've worked just a ton on it. I'm sure we'll have you on early sometime next week to kind of talk about who went where, and I'm really looking forward to that. You were great as always, man. Thanks.
Yeah, of course. Always a pleasure.
That is Kevin Potts. You can check him out on Twitter at KevinPotts06. Does a great job covering the draft. Go check out his Substack as well. It is completely free, so make sure you go and check that out. When we come back here in about 4 minutes, Shane Steichen, Anthony Richardson spoke words. Some of them were important, some of them were not. We will go over the important ones when we come back here in about 4 minutes.
may, one day, be a must-listen for sports enthusiasts.
Yeah, and monkeys might fly out of my butt.
Uh-oh. The Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
What's going on? Welcome back to the Real Jonathan Smith Show. Big thanks to Kevin Potts for taking like 30 minutes to talk about the draft tonight. He did a great job as always. We're getting ready for NBA playoffs tonight as well, but we're going to talk about the Colts and what they're going to do at the quarterback position and a little bit about the draft tonight as well. Shane Steichen was asked yesterday, or during his, interview, press conference, that's what they're called. During his press conference, if there was a timetable for which the Colts had set for them to select whoever the starting quarterback was going to be, here's what Coach Shane Steichen said about that timetable.
There's not. We're going to see how it all plays out, obviously, through OTAs and the training camp. Again, I said this in the spring with a few of you guys. It's really going to come down to who's the most consistent will win the job. That's going to come down to. We'll let that process play out. At the end of the day, you got to be able to move the football consistently up and down the field and making good decisions. You know what I mean? I mean, at the end of the day, you can have splash plays, but if you're doing that, sparingly and up and down, I think it's got to be on a consistent basis, to get to where we want to go.
Shane Steichen right there talking about how they're going to have the most consistent quarterback be the starting quarterback this season. And, let's just be honest here. That does not favor Anthony Richardson in the slightest, because consistency was his issue last year. That's why he lost the job for a couple weeks there to Joe Flacco. And hopefully all of this work that he put in the offseason was able to help him take a huge leap in his ability to throw the ball accurately and to be more consistent, because that was the biggest issue last year. Friend of the station, Ken Sterling, asked Anthony Richardson what he worked on over the summer, and here's what the former starting quarterback of the Indianapolis Colts had to say.
Main thing, making sure my body was healthy. That was the biggest thing for me. But also like footwork stuff. Being able to just stay calm in the pocket. That was really one of the main things I wanted to focus on, because everybody knows I can throw the ball whenever I'm smooth. But I want to find like opportunities for myself to be consistent when I am off balance. Make decent throws, and even when everything is perfect, making sure my feet are intact and my width, my base is solid, and I'm just completing the pass.
Anthony Richardson right there explaining what all he worked on in the offseason. Couple things there. First and foremost, Anthony, we do not know that when you're smooth that you're going to be accurate. That was actually part of the problem last year. You see, if you had been accurate with a clean pocket, you never would have gotten benched. The issue is you were never accurate with a clean pocket. So let's get that squared away. But him talking about footwork and having a strong base and being able to make off-balance throws and do all those things is great. Great. Talk about that as much as you want. It all sounds great. Talk about being smooth, all that kind of stuff. I hope it pays off. I do. Because I don't want Daniel Jones. I don't. Straight up. Because Daniel Jones is incredibly consistent. Okay? That's the issue. He consistently throws the ball to the check down. He consistently never takes calculated risks, which you have to do as a quarterback in the NFL. You have to be able to push the envelope a little bit. Daniel Jones consistently doesn't do that. When it's 3rd and 8 or 3rd and the defense knows you're going to pass the football, Daniel Jones consistently fails. This whole quarterback thing is going to be the worst. It's going to be terrible. I mean, we're going to be sitting here and we're going to be like, well, Daniel Jones did complete 3 drag routes yesterday. And we're going to be like, yeah, well, Anthony Richardson threw 2 60-yard bombs for touchdowns. So take your pick. Drag routes or bombs for touchdowns. I don't know. Shane Steichen made it pretty clear that they're going to be going with the drag routes guy in that scenario, though. So we'll see. Hopefully the Colts are able to find a tight end who can kind of help elevate whoever the quarterback winds up being. Coach Steichen was asked about year 3 of his offense. In his quote here, he makes it pretty clear that he wants the Colts to take a tight end.
Yeah, I think going into year three is big. Obviously, in the system and with the guys that we have, we got a lot of really good players. Tony's done a heck of a job developing that offensive line. Obviously, we got some spots to fill there too. There'll be some good competition up front. I like our receiving core where that's at. Obviously, we're looking, to add a pass catching tight end possibly. We'll see how that plays out. But obviously JT's a good runner for us. So we got a nucleus of core players that are really good. And so we just need to build that chemistry. I mean, one of the goals this offseason and going into season is connection, man. You guys have heard me say when you're connected, you're committed. I think that's the culture you build. It's your daily habits going through that process to build it. So when you're going through the fire with these guys and you got to go make plays, everyone's got each other's back.
Shane Steichen right there talking about year three of this Indianapolis Colts offense. And, camaraderie, all that stuff sounds good. The nucleus of this offense is not good. It's average at best. It's the reality of it, okay? Go get Colston, Loveland, or Tyler Warren. They elevate the offense immediately. And it's not just about elevating the quarterback. It's about elevating Shane Steichen as well. Shane Steichen needs a tight end that can catch the football. He needs one. The Colts ran a lot of passing plays out of 2 tight end sets last year with bad tight ends. Get him a tight end. That way those formations make a little bit more sense. Okay? Like, it would be nice to have a legitimate pass-catching tight end if you're going to run those 2 tight end sets. It would be. And then you look at the history of, Shane Steichen. I've been over this a few times already, so I'm trying not to harp on it for forever, but the best year of Dallas Goedert's career came under Shane Steichen with the Philadelphia Eagles. The best year of Hunter Henry's career came the season that he played for Shane Steichen. That's the reality of it. A tight end not only elevates Anthony Richardson or Daniel Jones, but it also elevates your head coach and the offense that he wants to run. You've already done a good job in free agency of bringing in guys that are going to bolster that defense between Cam Bynum and Travarius Ward. Like, you got to show the offense just like a little bit of love now. That's all I'm asking for, okay? Just like a little bit, right? Go get a tight end. You use that second-round pick on a linebacker, or if our friend Kevin Potts is right, Will Johnson, if he falls into the second round, trade up and grab that dude, okay? Like all of do that. But, man, that 14th pick, use it on a guy who's going to elevate your quarterback. If Tet McMillan, which he's a big receiver out of Arizona, if he falls, take him. Seriously, that dude's big. That is a body type you don't have in your wide receiver room. Okay? Let's get it going. Seriously. Or, obviously if Shedeur Sanders falls to 14, make sure you grab him because, you need a good quarterback. That's just the very simple reality of it. I like the idea of picking from 3 guys as opposed to just 2. That's just me. If Anthony Richardson doesn't win the job, you can trade him. If Shedeur Sanders doesn't win the job, then you can trade him. That's what I would do if I was the Indianapolis Colts. But I am not, sadly. If I was, then, we wouldn't be going 8-9 every year. That's just the simple reality of it. But when we come back here in about 4.5 minutes, NBA playoffs tonight, Pacers, Bucks tomorrow night. Game 3s begin, the best game of every series, and I'll tell you why when we come back here in about 4 minutes.
The best takes. Maybe. The Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
What's going on? Welcome back to the Real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy Sports Ticket. Hopefully you've had a nice week. Thanks for tuning in, no matter how you're tuning in, whether that's YouTube, Indy Sports Ticket. If you want to head over there and subscribe. Maybe you're watching on Twitter, _ Jonathan Smith. Maybe you're listening via the Indy Sports Ticket app, which you can download wherever you find your apps. And if you want even more from me, you can go check out the My Take Is YouTube page. Now, Colts draft tonight. Just draft someone who's got a little edge to him. That's what I want. Jihad Campbell, a dude who's just running through everybody to make tackles, a guy who will do anything to get on the field. He switched positions as like a 5-star guy. It's not a normal, he willingly, like he went and he asked to do it. Usually when you're a 5-star dude and you're a stud, you're just kind of like, hey, why am I not playing? I'm a 5-star. I'm a beast. Come on now. And he was just like, nah. He's like, I'm not playing because those guys are better than me. But I think I'm a better linebacker than some of these dudes. So let me change positions. And sure enough, he got on the field and he's extremely versatile. He can do all sorts of different things. Would love to see him, on that Colts card at 14. Also, that, Tyler Warren, same thing, man. Just a big physical dude who's just got a little extra to him. And the Colts need that, especially on this offense, because their quarterback doesn't really seem to have an edge. Either one of them. Michael Pittman Jr. doesn't really seem to have it. He's tough. Don't get me wrong. But, in terms of having just, that little extra thing of competitiveness, I don't think that this Colts offense really has that on it. And they need someone who kind of brings that element of it. And hopefully the Colts are able to get it tonight with that first-round pick. I'll be honest, I will not be watching the draft. I will be using Twitter to figure out everything that is going on, as normal. Instead, I'll be watching Game 3 of all of the amazing NBA playoff games that are set to happen tonight. I can't wait. These games are going to be awesome. I love Game 3s. It is the best game of every series because, the cards are on the table. I know what offense you're running. You know what defense I'm running. You know who I want to have guard who. I know who you're trying to get into switches and attack. I know what you want to do. You know what I want to do. And it, all kind of ends up washing itself out. And it just comes down to who's your guy. This is where having Giannis really matters. And having, a good game from Tyrese Halliburton and Pascal Siakam really matter. Because the other team, they know what you're running. And there just aren't as many adjustments for you to go to. Game one's the feel-out game. Just kind of figure out, okay, they're going to run this coverage on this guy, and they're putting that guy on him. Okay, that makes sense. And then game 2, depending on how your game 1 game plan went, you can make some tweaks and all that good stuff. But game 3, it's just let's go. I know what you want to do. You know what I want to do. Let's rock. And so, very excited tonight. Pistons-Knicks game 3 is going to be amazing. Nuggets, Clippers. I hate that game is on NBA TV. NBA, do me a favor. Put the Thunder and the Grizzlies on NBA TV. And can we please have the Clippers and the Nuggets on TNT? Preferably with Kevin Harlan calling the game. Because that game is going to be so much better than Thunder and Grizzlies. That game is going to be an absolute blowout. I'm going to watch it just because, I guess. But, man, Clippers, Nuggets, game 3 is going to be nothing short of spectacular. Okay, I think we're going to get a great game from Jokic. We're going to get a great game from Kawhi Leonard. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch. Pistons and Knicks, that, the Palace, whatever they call it, is going to be rocking. They haven't hosted a playoff game in forever. They haven't won a playoff game since 2008. That's a long time ago. So Detroit's going to be absolutely rocking tonight. The Grizzlies, the people in Memphis are going to be like, can we just keep the game close? Can we please just kind of hover around wherever the Thunder are at? And for the Thunder, I'm sure that they're just kind of waiting for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander to get it going. We'll see if he does or not. But like they're going to need him to be better than he has been in these first two games going into that second round matchup against the winner of this Clippers and Nuggets series. So can't wait for that. Can't wait for the draft tonight. That 14th pick. It's such an important pick. Like they have got to get a good player because this Colts team wasn't very good last year. Like they've already gotten better. They have just with bringing in, Ward and Bynum on defense, but like they need a little something extra on offense. And that 14th pick can be that little something extra. And we'll see what winds up happening with it. I'm very intrigued to see what's going on. Kevin Potts, who joined the show earlier, Kevin Potts 06 on Twitter. He's got the Colts taking Colston Loveland with that 14th pick. I'm all for it. If that's who they want to take, that guy's awesome. Then let's do it. Let's do it. That's going to do it here on the Real Jonathan Smith Show. Thanks for taking the time out of your day to tune in. I greatly appreciate it. I'll be back on the air tomorrow from 10 to noon. The Dan Dockett Show comes your way from noon to 3. Make sure you download that Indy Sports Ticket app so you can tune in and listen. We are 8 hours and 7 minutes away from the start of the NFL draft. Colts will be on the clock, not like 9 hours from now. And hopefully they don't mess up that pick. Thank you again for tuning in. I'll talk to you tomorrow starting at 10 a.m.